musiko olokulwanira okununula eggwanga. Abatuuze b'eggwanga kamawulire mwena twamala emyaka 5 musiko olokulwanira okununula eggwanga. Abatuuze b'eggwanga kambawulire mwena twamala emyaka 5 musiko olokulwanira okununula eggwanga. Abantu bangi nnyo ababonyebonye bambi NRM bakakasa nti ejja kubaja mu bizibu. Abatuuze b'eggwanga kambabulire mwena twamala emyaka 5 musiko olokulwanira okununula eggwanga. Okusosola mu mawanga, okulowoleza mu bibiina, okutugumbula abantu, ebyo bye twajja okumalawo. Abatuuze b'eggwanga kambabulire mwena twamala emyaka 5 musiko olokulwanira okununula eggwanga. Obuyenguzi n'obubi n'okutemula abantu, okulowoleza mu madiini, ddala ddala ffe tujja kubimalawo. Twamala emyaka 5 musiko olokulwanira okununula eggwanga. Abantu bangi nnyo ababonyebonye bambi NRM bakakasa nti ejja kubaja mu bizibu. Abatuuze b'eggwanga kambabulire mwena twamala emyaka 5 musiko olokulwanira okununula eggwanga. Okusosola mu mawanga, okulowoleza mu bibiina, okutugumbula abantu, ebyo bye twajja okumalawo. Abatuuze b'eggwanga kambawulire mwena twamala emyaka 5 musiko olokulwanira okununula eggwanga. Abatuuze b'eggwanga kambawulire mwena twamala emyaka 5 musiko olokulwanira okununula eggwanga. Abantu bangi nnyo ababonyebonye bambi NRM bakakasa nti ejja kubaja mu bizibu. Abatuuze b'eggwanga kambabulire mwena twamala emyaka 5 musiko olokulwanira okununula eggwanga. Okusosola mu mawanga, okulowoleza mu bibiina, okutugumbula abantu, ebyo bye twajja okumalawo. Abatuuze b'eggwanga kambabulire mwena twamala emyaka 5 musiko olokulwanira okununula eggwanga. Obuyenguzi n'obubi n'okutemula abantu, okulowoleza mu madiini, ddala ddala ffe tujja kubimalawo. Abatuuze b'eggwanga kambabulire katuzere gwanga kamba bulire mwena twamala emyaka etaano mu nsiko olw'okulwanira okununula eggwanga.
Good morning to you, and thank you so much for being with us here on UBC TV. This is Good Morning Uganda Agenda. Now, that song of the various foreign bush war comrades, it was a very hard time, difficult time. 37 years back on this day, many people that were living in Uganda at that time did not know what their fate was if they lived to see tomorrow. However, amidst that, there were others that were fighting, that were sacrificing to ensure they restore sanity, they restore peace in this country. It was then the 26th of January 1986 when we saw President Museveni, by then a rebel, together with many others, capture Kampala, overthrow the government that was in power, and take over government. Now, in that song, we were showing you a number of those that were very instrumental in this fight that we no longer have today. And tomorrow, Uganda will be celebrating, that is in Kakumiro district, 37 years of the NRA-NRM victory. It has been a long time, one would say, but there have been so many achievements. One wise man once said that a person who does not know his history finds it hard to sail through the present, and his future is doomed. Now I know there are a number of youths that are asking, why should we celebrate this day? Yes, this happened 37 years. Now, what is still the relevancy of this? Well, for those that were not there and have not bothered to read or interest themselves in the history of their country, Uganda wasn't what it is today. Politically, economically, socially, in all aspects, it was what one would call a failed state, where a number of rebel groups were fighting, where the right to live was no longer a right. Because people will tell you that you would wake up and you don't know if you will see sunset. Extrajudicial killings were the order of the day. There was no rule of law, lawlessness, property being stolen by those that were supposed to protect the people. Now, it is the reason why every year the NRM government that revolved from NRA, which was National Resistance Army, now to have the National Resistance Movement, they reflect on what they went through. 5 years of constant fighting that was based on the efforts of the ordinary person supporting these rebels to get the victory that they got. Now tomorrow, hundreds are going to gather in Kakumiro district, and they will be celebrating 35 years on a very interesting theme, which is our resolute effort to transform Uganda is a promise we shall fulfill. I'm expected later on, I'll be joined, or any time from now, by the Army spokesperson, that is Brigadier General Felix Kulaije. Anytime he will be joining me, and we'll be continuing with this discussion. But what is very important to note is that as we speak today, there are so many things that we have achieved. And one of the moving statements that was made then and still stands is when President Museveni was being sworn in as the president, where he assured Ugandans that was on the 29th of 1986, where he assured Ugandans that no one should think that what was happening was just a mere change of guard, but a fundamental change in, that is, the politics of our country. And then they moved with what is called the 10-point program. This was something they adopted while still in the bush that was going to guide how the country has moved. But when you look at these 37 years, that is a journey. Well, some of the bush, the foreign bush war comrades that lost their lives are no longer with us. But still have those that we can still mention that were very instrumental and they are still with us today. We have the likes of General Salim Saleh, we have the likes of General Kahindo Tafire, General Ivan Koreta, and a few others that are still alive today. However, this is also a struggle that we note that we lost quite a number of people in it. Now, the epicenter of this, many people remember what we call the Mecca, that is Luwero, what the bush war comrades refer to as the Mecca of the NRA, where many people there lost their lives and it was the epicenter of the fighting. But when you look at the NRA struggle, one thing that is very important is that this was a people-centered fight that was supported by the common man mostly to ensure that they redeem their peace with the leadership of the current president of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Now, it wasn't only fighting and capturing victory. When they captured victory, they came up with a plan that many Ugandans today who may not consider so much the history that happened at that time, many want to look at Uganda from 1986. And some are very specific on the 26th of January, or on the 29th of January when His Excellency was sworn in. But it is very important to note that we had had previous governments from the time of independence on the 9th of October 1962. These governments had failed to create peace and stability for our country. It was the order of the day that one government after the other is overthrown by the power of the gun. Coups had become coups. You have one president, the other goes off, he's removed. And amidst all these coups, it wasn't what we see of late that some countries you hear that the head of state is in a safe place, the army has taken over. No, these were wars that resulted into death of people. Now, when President Museveni promised Ugandans a fundamental change in the politics of Uganda, one of the areas we can look at is we have had continuous democratic elections that are seeing leaders elected right from grassroots level. Because this was one of the plans, one of the issues that were well captured, that they'll have RCs, these were resistance councils that were later transformed into LCs, local councils, from local council 1 to local council 3, then you have chairman, LC5. But this was one of the way, including decentralization, that then rebels, while still in the Bush plan, that to cause the transformation that we need as a country, we must have this in place. And any Ugandan today, if you're to look at the achievements, yes, one would say we've continuously had elections, we've had people choose their representatives right from LC 1 or local council 1. The economy was one of the issues that was also highlighted in the 10-point program. Of course, that it was expanded. And if we remember very well, by then, we were able to collect about 5 billion shillings as a country. Today, as we speak, we are talking of a budget that may be about 49 trillion, of which Ugandans are able to contribute about over 25 trillion. That is the transformation. When you look at the road network, we last had insurgencies in 2005. From then all rebels that were fighting Uganda, coming in from various parts, it is something that we saw that came to an end. When you look at the education sector, we had one university. Today, we have over 45 universities. Even when you talk about the media, we had only one radio station, one TV station. Today we have over 200 radio stations. TV stations, hundreds as well. So at every area you look at, you must remember that the genesis of all this was the 5-war protracted struggle that was led by General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni with other bushwalk comrades to ensure that they restore sanity and peace. Still, one of the things that we look at and cherish over, because this was a struggle that had aims and had a proper laid out mechanism of how it was going to be handled. We must remember very well that their guiding document, the 10-point program that I emphasized, was later, of course, expanded to include others, first looked at how best they were going to restore the peace, the trust of the people of Uganda. That is why there is this common statement that I'll repeat over and over, which was a promise that this wasn't just a mere change of guard, but a fundamental change in the politics of Uganda. And that we have seen. However, still moving on to ensure that we really create meaning of this day that is going to be celebrated tomorrow for the people who may have forgotten this history, but also for those that were not there, because 37 years means if someone was born in 1986 from January, because this was in January, and that's why we are celebrating it tomorrow in Kakumiro district. That person has now made 37 years of age. That means there are a number of people who did not witness the 5-year struggle, much as there are those that witnessed and can tell a story. Uganda is one of the countries in the world that has a very young population. So that means that over 70% of Ugandans could have never witnessed the struggle we are talking about. Could have never, or never in fact, witnessed anything to do with the Bush War struggle. They could have had stories being told of how they saw the rebels, of how they supported, of how they did this and that, but they never had any feel. So it's very important that we keep on reminding them, or reminding ourselves, eager to read and understand what exactly did happen on this very day. But like I told you earlier, that I'll be joined by the Army spokesperson, Brigadier General Felix Kulaije will be joining me on set as we continue to discuss or talk about or renew memories and create value to this very important day. And this is why we cannot get tired of reminding ourselves that whatever we can talk about, there was a genesis. It was a journey of 5 years of fighting, struggling, that later led to the victory. And I'm very honored to have one of the people actually that can not only talk through history, but also has been instrumental and can have more to do when we talk about the NRA. Like I thought, it was the National Resistance Army. Now later, because the fighting was done, it now moved into the NRM, and that is why many people will tell you the NRM government. Yes, it is a political party, but the political party that has the history that we see that actually was very vital in this struggle. Joining me on set, let me welcome Brigadier General Felix Kuleje. You're most welcome.
Chirabo.
Sebo.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
I was telling the young man who came for me from down. I'm from Murutu.
Oh,
Yes.
welcome back.
Beautiful, but the sun is beginning to hit hard. And but the headline I found this
37 years of NRA, NRM
victory from a failed state to modern state. I think I hope some people will understand this headline.
And that is the problem you found me explaining.
Yes.
That 37 years, Brigadier General, there are people that never saw, can't have anything in their memories, and are wondering why even must we celebrate this?
I know.
And they're the majority, by the way.
I have heard you talk about NRM being a political party. Yes, it is. But the capture of power in 1986 is a Liberation Day. Actually, even on the calendar, it's Liberation Day. And that's why I actually agreed with enthusiasm to come.
Now, Afande, for people who don't have, and they're the majority, because Uganda is one of the countries.
72%.
72%. We saw nothing, we had nothing. Some have had stories, others have not even bothered to hear anything.
Yes.
Now, briefly, for those, take us through, create a picture of what was the situation then, briefly.
There are 3-4 aspects that I need to highlight for Ugandans. First and foremost, the state itself had failed. That's why that is very correct, a failed state. It had failed. Mulago here was under rescue front of General Moses Ai. Here in Nakasero, where UBC is, that time it was up the hill. It was under UNLA of Titokelo. Mbuya was UNLA. Nsambia was UFM of Kayira. Ruwaga, partly UFM, partly FEDEM. Mukono and the Nakawa, part of Nakawa was FEDEM. Those were the governments governing the city of Kampala. So when we talk of a failed state, we are talking about a state that was not in charge.
So how was movement then?
Very difficult. Actually, this road, it's called Nile Avenue?
Nile Avenue.
Nile Avenue was every day littered with dead bodies. Every day. Every day you'd have, it would be a miracle not to find a dead body along this road, between that roundabout and the Serena roundabout. And yet, there were soldiers in this place. On top of the building of Radio Uganda then, there would be soldiers.
Like I wasn't working.
No.
I wasn't. Because
Now, that's number
how
one.
would you feel
Number
broadcast?
two, wearing a watch was a crime. Be sure somebody will take it from you, whether you like it or not. I'll never forget at a checkpoint in Chengera, at the roundabout. It was a military police checkpoint. And a colleague of mine was wearing neutral glasses. So this military police soldier was able to see through that they actually not reading glasses. So he told him, he wanted to take them, but I think he felt shy. So he told him, Tupachini, throw down. And of course, my friend hesitated and he advanced to him. So he threw them down, and this guy came and crushed the glasses. Why? That was the state of lawlessness by state agents. So, Christmas Eve of 85, let me start from there. The soldiers from Summit View fired bullets all the way up to Kamoja. I remember in the morning we collected tins and tins of shells on Christmas morning. By 8, everybody had disappeared in the house because of that shooting. That was our Christmas gift from the National Army. So the capital power 86, which by the way, on the 24th, 25th in the morning, I survived a bullet. Actually, 2 bullets, one on the road around the Kobil, I think it's now Total. And then as I was going to prepare food for children who were crying, a bullet came through the window and entered the saucepan I was going to cook in. I just changed the water and continued and cooked for the children and went back to do what I was doing on the streets. So, when we talk about liberation, it means that we got finally a government that was in charge of the entire country.
Now, even before we go to, you've given us the situation, what it was.
Yes.
But we must also have value too. How easy was it to liberate this country? What was the liberation struggle like? Because sometimes I see the youth, they have a saying, I'll use the Uganda they use, Ense Gulamirambo. So there are people who will die when, when they are being told that, hey, this is not easy as you think. If many did it, we can. So how easy was it to liberate this country?
You see, first and foremost, allow me use this platform to correct the headline I've seen in the New Vision story. Kassirie leads the battalion against government forces. That was not correct. It misrepresentation of facts. Actually, General Kassirie was deployed in Mpigi against NRA. He only crossed over. Okay. Number 2, he didn't command any battalion in the capital of Kampala. There were already battalion commanders. The late Kashirinji, Kashaka, the Ivan Koreta, those are who commanded the battalions. So late Kassirie Gwanga did not command the battalion in the capital of Kampala. I wanted to correct that headline in New Vision. Now, for you to think about liberation, there must be conducive conditions for you to start a struggle. The objective reality must be favoring a military struggle. 1. 2, objective conditions include that all other methods of expression have been blocked. You have no other means of expressing your views, your disagreement or agreement, except by picking up arms.
The courts have failed.
The courts have failed.
Media space is not there.
Media space is totally there. By 81 June 82, all other newspapers had been closed except the party paper, The People, which was the UPC paper, and the national paper, which was the Uganda Times. Others, weekly topic, which was for Bidandi Salia and Chintu Musoke and the Chivejinja, had been closed. Kakoza Mutale was publishing the Economy and the Mulengera newspapers. They had been closed. Sekeb, I think, is still alive.
But I think he's not in Uganda. But he's still alive, yes.
No, where has he gone? No.
So
the old man is around.
Sure.
He has even published 2 books.
I've read the books.
Yes.
But
Now,
I think
Dr. Sekeba was in chief of Ngabo. It had been closed. He's still alive, he can be a witness.
Yeah, he's still alive.
Yes. So, the space must be under there. 3, the population must be angry enough with what is going on. Inflation was 250%. The economy was retrogressing at 400%.
With the collection of 5 billion.
With only, it was total 5 billion. That's the total economy. Essential commodities.
Yes.
Soap, salt, sugar.
Someone told me, my father told me that on their wedding, it was during those tough times. He told me even getting soda, they had to get permission, then get it, I think.
From the Minister of Industry.
Yes. To have soda on his wedding.
From the Minister of Industry.
That was madness. Soda?
Yes. You have to get a kit from the Minister of Industry to get soda. When there's one of the pastors in town who said, "Mundekenya soda," because soda was unknown during my young days. Because soda was a miracle. The beer, people who drink beer, I was one of them those days. Beer was from Kenya. Police in a white cap. Sugar. The Kenyans built a factory in Bungoma of sugar for Ugandan market. They built beer industries or factories in Kisumu for the Ugandan market. That is no more. So for me, liberation is not easy. The starting point, you must study the objective reality. Number two, you must be convinced. One, you understand the situation, you get convinced about it, and you get convicted. Conviction means you will volunteer your entire self for the cause you believe in. Because you imagine, you take up arms to fight a government. There is no salary for you, no uniform for you, no food for you. Either you must be mad or very angry.
And what was that now, were they mad? Were they very angry?
They were very convicted, they were very angry, and they felt somebody must change the situation. I mean, Chirabo, for me to leave school and go, and there is no pay, there is no, actually my payment is a type of water which is not even processed. I wasn't mad, but I was angry with the situation. I don't mind how many times soldiers would beat me. On me seeing you because he doesn't like the way you look like. The way you look rather. So, ense gule mirambo yes. Ne mirambo ejo gifiride ki. It's not what they promise is again. You must be able to see far where you want to go. And they say even if I fall, Chirabo will continue. And we would sing, wawili wanakufa watatu wanasonga. You knew, yes, I may not survive, but my colleague will
survive.
Will continue with my struggle. Actually, would say he will pick my gun and continue. That kind of conviction is not about immediate gains. No, it's about a conscience that is pursuing something bigger than you, something bigger than your family. That's what liberation is all about. Liberation means you are setting people free of chains that have denied them, one, freedom of speech, two, freedom of choice, three, opportunities. So, you must believe in a cause. Not going on beaches and swimming and then you come around and say you are believing in a cause. Hey, my brother, there are things much bigger than that.
Now, Brigadier General, when you look at 37 years of liberation, you're the army spokesperson.
Yes.
So I'm restricted to dive into deeper politics. So my viewers,
Can I tell you the truth? Deeper politics is not an omen for me. I'm a politically minded soldier.
Oh, good, then we can have it.
What I'm not allowed is to have a political party.
Oh.
And I don't. Neither do I believe in political parties. I've said this, I don't hide it. I don't believe in political parties, so I have none.
That is very good.
But politics, the highest form of politics is war. Yes. The highest form of politics is war. And I have fought wars. I'm executor of the highest politics. The people who declare war are not generals. They are politicians who sit in that house. And the one in the state house. They agree, we go to war, and the Kureje will command the division and we go. That's how life is.
You have very interesting stories. The times I've talked to you of one of the most interesting ones actually was when you had soldiers around you. There was one church where we were giving a testimony. And you said it is God. And when they struck, looking around, they were nowhere.
The bomb exploded above my head.
And they were nowhere.
They took cover, all of them. My bodyguards. I had the 12 like disciples of Jesus. So, for that reason, my only protector, my only bodyguard is Jesus Christ.
Now, looking at these 37 years, we want to begin with your docket.
Yeah.
Ugandans have nasty history of the government soldiers by then.
Yeah.
And one of the things in the early years of NRA, they would tell you that one of the achievements is peace, which is still standing, and the character of the army.
Yes.
How has the army evolved over these 37 years? And are you still sticking to those fundamental changes? Because I've been able to speak to some of the Bushwolf comrades, as General Ivan Koreta, but there's something unique you find in them that I don't see. I'm not saying all of them, but I don't see in this elite force that we have today. These are people who cherish what you call, I'm not good in Swahili, but is it wananchi? Something like that. That when you speak to them, the respect they have for the ordinary person, the civilian, oh God, they hold them in a high esteem. When you speak to those elite that have come in the force, they are quite parallel. So are you still sticking to those values as UPDF?
Yes. Yes, we stick to those values. The crop before us, Ivan Koreta, General Saleh,
the late Elitumwine,
and then our crop that follows, drank Jewish code political education. That drink is very infectious. That's the word I've been looking for. That drink has an infectious virus called ideology. That you remember the words I used: understand, get convinced, and get convicted. Now, when you reach level 3 of conviction, you come to know that minus the population, you are nothing. That you are fish, and the water is the population. And therefore, fish cannot afford to antagonize water. Because when the water moves away from you,
your life is gone.
I mean, Uganda army with Idi Amin was defeated not because they didn't have the weapons. The people had refused them. UNLA was not defeated by us because we had superior weapons. We were less in number, we had less weapons, but we defeated them. Why? The population. So for us, the population is so paramount that anything you do to antagonize the population is tantamount to criminality. Now, your generation. For me, I blame your generation with reservation. Your generation has found everywhere day. Peace is assured, it's given. The commodities we are talking about, you just walk in a supermarket and buy, or even a shop in a village and buy and go home. You are walking home, nobody will disturb you. Whether you have how much billions of money in your car boot, nobody will say, where are you taking this money? So that's the life you have found. Healthcare is available. Schools are there. The days of finding a lame child in school are gone. In my young days, it was as if a ration. Every class had somebody who was lame. Polio. So, I don't blame you. Whom do I blame? Ourselves. One, we lost values. I was fed on values from childhood. And that's why it was easy for me to get convinced that something was wrong. Because it was against these values I had been taught. Of respecting others, of respecting order. Two. So, in that case, before I go to number 2, in that case, therefore, the children of today, you who are in their 30s, early 40s, your parents have not given you what you received. Secondly, who are the parents, by the way? The people who saw their fathers being beaten by soldiers running under the bed. Hey, have your old man been beaten before you? Thanks God. People saw their fathers whipped. The man you feared in your life that this is the most powerful man in the world, Badanga, as we used to call them. Somebody else is making him say, Mama, Nyabo Banzita. A man is crying for a woman, Mama Nyabo. All right? We are the fathers today.
Another one,
Muchara, Abasajja Babu, and he's dashing under the bed. These guys, you guys.
I'm told a very interesting story.
Yes, Abasajja Babu.
That one time, my mom was staying in the compound, and my dad had gone to the main road. So as he's at the main road, he sees these guys coming. My mother just saw him cruising, passing, not even telling him to run away. He passed him at a terrible speed into the forest. Mother was like, hey. She also took off. I said, but
now, the protector of the home
has taken off.
That's how dehumanizing that regime was. Okay? So, we who saw that are the parents today. What values do we have? If you are not lucky to be like me, who had a concerned father and who grew up in a very strict Catholic schools, the values were gone. People were busy smuggling. People are talking about education today. The collapse of education was in the 70s and 80s. Because value was in smuggling, not in education. Magendo. So when you see people saying, the education system, what happened in those 20 years?
Back to be more specific, the army's evolution.
So the army's evolution was that we fed on political education, which we still continue feeding on them. But now this political education is competing with modern technology. And what is flashed on phone, TikTok and what have you, is indeed the flashy. Whereas political education is teaching about the reality of Africa that you're going to live in. Then this phone takes you away to utopia. I used to love novels. Actually, in senior one, I'm trying to read 72 novels. As I grew up, you'd find the novel taking you into utopia. Some romance, you can't imagine, somewhat. I said, wait a minute, this is not real. I stopped reading novels.
By the way, those days it was the thing.
It was the thing.
It was the thing.
If you found reading a political book, it was a question. Some of us would hide ourselves and discussing Uganda's politics was an omen. I remember 84, we were discussing Zimbabwe, Namibia. You don't discuss our politics here. Today you go on the air, you abuse the president, you say the thing is rotten, you say what, and you go home the warmth of your wife.
Even cross the airport, go to the national forums, and
then you go
make all allegations, then come back.
You smear your country with all the feces in the world, and you come back, you get a bouquet of flowers at the airport. That's why it is liberation.
Now, still looking at you've given us the NRM.
Allow me, Mr. Chirabu. The other point, the point I was developing, that the young people today are not convicted. They are not convinced about a cause. They are come for jobs. And when you go for a job, you're Mpakasi. Mpakasi works for pay. Either money is available or the Mpakasi leaves. That is the difference. Then, we are operating in an environment where the international community was against Siasa. They realized we were waking up our people. So they demanded for the closure of Chankwanzi in 1996. And one of the people who campaigned Chankwanzi, may he so rest in peace, is Dr. Semogere. Yet I remember...
They said you are indoctrinating young people in...
Yes! And the people have gone there. Ask any teachers who have been there. What sort of indoctrination are we talking about? It's rather giving people a menu that is not in our curriculum at school. That's what... The things that have made me what I am are not the things I studied in history books or geography. It's the things I have studied along the way in my career in serving this country.
Now,
so you can ask me what you ask.
Yes, having looked at the army, 37 years, Still, I want to be more specific to your docket. One of the issues that was cherished, and I believe is still, because I do cherish it, is peace and respect of human rights and human dignity.
Correct.
37 years, Fande, we begin to see various reports indicating state of human rights and respect to dignity deteriorating. We begin to see threats here and there from Bijambia. Then we have ADF. These were the pillars that the NRA sailed on, that anyone would tell you, Fetweba Koturo. When we sleep, there is peace everywhere. Anyone would tell you, in Uganda, you can speak, you can do this, there is tolerance. Today we are seeing reports kind of saying that the gist or your pivotal point is no longer operating as it used to.
I've just been explaining to you the transition from us to you. Which people are you giving us in the army, in intelligence, in the police? Which father has mentored these people? They have not been mentored.
Many expect your training to transform these people.
Now,
that's why people tell you a thief on the village again the maje.
yes, but you see, this fellow has been a rogue, uncatered for, unmentored, untamed for 25 years. All right? Over those he has been to university where nobody bothers about habits or manners. Then you want me to turn him around in 9 months. I wish it was a rehabilitation center. Excuse me. The military training teaches you how to survive in the battlefield. That's the main menu. How to kill the enemy and how to survive. Political education is one of the subjects taught. So to change somebody who has been in this kind of life we are talking about and turn him around, it takes a lot of effort. I did that. My battalion was recruited from Mayuge to Kidepo. A good number of them were from Ruakaka border, from the tax park in Busia, from the tax park in Nibari. Now, being a teacher by profession made me realize that I had to sleep with these fellows in the same location. I had to train with them, much as me I was the commanding officer, to turn them around. And so, like in NRA, UPDF, we had a role model called Yoweri Museveni. I became a role model for these boys and the girls. All right? When I moved out of that battalion, it's no more. Because others did not approach the things the way I did, of taking these as your children and mentor them. Those who have survived in the army, they are the best you can find. I always say, I feel very proud. The soldiers I commanded as a lieutenant are now colonels. How do you think I feel when I meet them with the ready things? So, the point I'm making, yes, people cherished us. They called us our boys, our children, our soldiers. And that was the best time I can ever tell you. But now we have our Pakasi joining us. And I'm sure, if it didn't happen for me, it happened, that you would be in class. At times, if you don't like the teacher who has come, you get absent-minded. You think about other things. So they think the guy is teaching, they simply pass you.
I remember one time when we were a group of 5 boys in senior 3. When there is a mathematics teacher we didn't like, and we agreed that when he enters, few minutes, if he's still staying, we all wake and say, it's time. Unfortunately, I did it and the rest kept quiet.
They were supposed to follow you.
Because yes, human betrayal.
Human betrayal. So, now, this fellow who joined the army because he saw courageous driving a big car.
Yeah.
This fellow who joined the army because he thinks that's where the money is. When you are telling him about sacrificing, it is boredom. It is boredom. The man has seen the structures have come up, and you are talking about sacrifice? You are lying. So, what am I saying? True, we have got some contamination. But we are not sick. We have received some. You know, when you're healthy, viruses can enter and still withstand them. We are still healthy.
Well, we can take a whole day discussing the NRA, NRM. That is a struggle, as tomorrow we are celebrating Liberation Day, 37 years. But what is your final message? More so, I want you to address it to the youth who saw nothing.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chirabu. First of all, I congratulate Ugandans who have survived this day. I salute my seniors, I salute my colleagues who have sustained a government for the first time for all these years. One of the things that disturbs some people is that we have had a stable state for 37 years, which was not the case before. In fact, when people are busy comparing Uganda with Tanzania, with Kenya, then I say they have not done what they call comparative study. You are talking about a country that has been stable since independence. You want to compare it with a country that has had war for 24 years. That's not fair. Even this government, the first 20 years were years of war. A third of the country was not producing, but the economy grew. Actually, allow me to say this, President Museveni is a genius. That you can grow an economy when a third of the country is under war is an genius. My message, therefore, don't take things for granted. This peace, this freedom of expression cost lives. Now, if for you say, Gulamiramba, you are ready to die, you must be convinced about what you are dying for. That yes, when I go, my brother, my son will take up the mantle and fight on. But have you exhausted the courts? Have you exhausted the different commissions set up to ensure protection of human rights? So let us not take this for granted. By the way, I have received information from the Human Rights Commission. The 35 people still missing, 18 of those actually don't exist.
Are they put out of action?
They don't exist. They have never existed.
Okay.
This, I've said it on air. 18 of the 35 don't exist. So, Cholina, Tochigaya Lira, Tochigaya. What you have today, instead build on it. Create opportunities because they are there. Discover them for your personal advancement and for transformation of our country.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Brigadier General Felix Laije, and all the men and women in uniform.
Thank you.
Those that are still living, those that are foreign comrades, we respect you and we thank you for the efforts till now, 37 years, those that have tried to ensure that they keep this country. And we'll continue to pray for the glory of UPDF and the armed forces.
Thank you.
That their fundamental principles, generations live to test and enjoy them. Well, I'll be back in the next hour. Cherish what you have. It costed a lot. We'll return shortly.
Tamara imyake tana musiko orokurwanira kununule